rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You do not have a revised agenda in front of you, but you do have a revised set of minutes from our last regular meeting on September the 19th that was distributed earlier this evening by the clerk. I do want to acknowledge that. Excuse me, though, those in attendance this evening are myself, Mayor Morrow, Council Members Gearboss, CO, Rhodes, McClellan, Tahar, and Dillon. From City staff, we have City Manager Campbell, Clerk Royal, Treasurer Bennett, Engineer Rubel, and I don't know if Police Chief Rennick is here or not. At this time, the Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted unless there are amendments.
So moved.
Moved by Dillon to approve as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by McClellan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. There are no absences this evening, so we'll dispense with that, which leads us to citizen comments on agenda items. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time and make comment or question on an item that appears on this agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested, but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Are there any citizen comments? There are no citizen comments. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda. And if I recall correctly from an email I received earlier today, Ms. Tahar, you want to remove C minutes from the agenda, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So would you then move to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I'd like to remove bills, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. So actually, those would be the first two items, I believe. We'll take up minutes and then bills before new business, which leaves just one thing on the consent agenda. But you'll move to amend?
Yes.
Mr. Har? Okay.
Yes.
Is there a second? Mr. Gearball, will you second?
I will second.
Seconded by Gearball. All those in favor of approving what's left of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously, which leads us to C minutes, to approve the minutes of the September 19th, 2016 regular meeting minutes as amended, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, so moved, yes.
Okay, moved by Tahar. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. Ms. Tahar, do you want to comment, ma'am?
Yes, I had noticed in the first draft of the minutes that the record of the votes didn't note that Mayor Morrow was absent for the last portion of the meeting. So
Great.
mention that to Clerk Royal.
Thank you. Very good. Any other comments on the minutes? No, then we'll proceed to vote, on a motion made by Tahar, seconded by Dillon to approve the regular meeting minutes as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. We move on now to C bills, to approve the payment of bills consisting of 86 payees in the amount of $692,980.30.
I'll move to make approval of the bills with the exception of check 56424.
Give me 1 second, Mr.
Pending
Gearbach.
clarification, which is the check to the Saline Community Addiction Advanced Startup.
Oh, okay. Everyone clear on what check Mr. Gearbaugh is objecting to? Okay. Is there a second to that motion? I'll ask again. Is there a second to that motion? The motion dies then for lack of a second. Is there a motion to approve the payment of bills consisting of 86 payees in the amount of $692,980.30 as submitted? Moved by Councilmember CO. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Dillon. Any comments? Mr. Gearball.
Just clarification, have we received any additional funds in from the donors for the Community Addiction Task Force? So it's still overdraft mode?
Correct. To my knowledge, we have not received any additional new revenue sources.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving the bills consisting of 86 payees in the amount of $692,980.30 as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Ayes have it. The motion carries. We move on to new business item 16-182. This is request to waive penalties and interest on a tax bill. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the September 28th, 2016 memo from Treasurer Bennett and the September 15th, 2016 email from James Courtney requesting waiver of tax penalty and interest on real property for properties 101, 203, 231, and 251 in Sheffield Drive.
Move to acknowledge receipt.
Thank you, Mr. Seo. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Dillon. Treasurer Bennett, do you care to make any comment this evening?
If there are any questions, I'll be happy to address them. I think it's pretty clear.
Yes, indeed it is. Are there any questions for our city treasurer? Any comments? Then we'll proceed to vote. It's been properly moved by Seo, seconded by Dillon to acknowledge receipt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. We move on to new business item 16-183, request for extension for 207 Monroe Street. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the September 25th, 2016 letter from Damian Farrell, High Meadows Development, LLC, and to approve or not to approve the request for a 75-day extension to purchase property at 207 Monroe Street.
I'll move to acknowledge only.
Moved by Dillon to acknowledge receipt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by McClellan. Mr. Farrell, we appreciate you being here this evening. Would you like to comment?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members, thank you very much. It's been a struggle putting together the financing, to put it bluntly, for the project. But we're continuing to work on all the other aspects. The development agreement is currently going between parties. We sent in our comments last week. Our lawyers are continuing with the condo docs and the master deed, so I'm very confident. It's just a question of what's really what's really pushed us further out for us is when we started the year, the estimates for the site costs were right around $480,000. Those have doubled since then, and so we're facing labor and material costs that are rising fairly dramatically. The private equity investors and the banks we're talking to are all concerned, and they'd like to. Their charge to me is try to get a fixed number for all of the site work. We are out for bid right now for that number, and that's really the reason for requesting this short extension is to, it's a pretty tight pro forma for the project. It's a new kind of project, as you know, and so it's somewhat untested from that point of view. And I've just been asked to get all of my ducks in a row and really get those numbers pinned down. That's the essence of it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Are there questions for our applicant? Ms. Dillon?
In your letter, you discussed utility costs. What type of utilities? Is that the moving of utility lines? Or
No. Just what has to go in to take care of the project. But excavation, for instance, has just gone through the roof. It's unbelievable what's happened to those kinds of costs. So no, nothing to do with the moving of the power or the phone line that exists. This is the new work for the project itself in particular.
Do you feel comfortable 75 days is ample time?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that balance. I know you've been very patient with me, and I respect that. And we're working very hard to try to get that really nailed down. So I was just trying to suggest a number that I could always do with a little bit more time, but we can push hard and try to get it to that 75 days.
So then you've obviously missed this construction season. What is your time frame now?
If we get all the financing put together and get through City Council within the next 2 months, we don't anticipate stopping or letting the winter conditions stop us. The plan would be to move straight forward and keep going. Our foundation conditions are pretty straightforward. We're digging to standard footing depth. So, to straw that and prevent any freeze is not a problem. So we don't see this delaying construction. Our intention is that the financing is in place and the closing goes ahead, that we get on with the job right away.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Additional questions, Mr. Gearbaugh?
And you don't anticipate any changes from the final site plan or the
Oh, no.
drawings and everything provided? So
No.
everything is going to go forward exactly as...
We're out for bid exactly what was approved by the Planning Commission
Okay, thank you.
on all of that work, yeah.
Additional questions for the applicant? Mr. Farrell, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much
it.
indeed.
Additional comments on a motion made by Dillon, seconded by McClellan to acknowledge receipt? No, then we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. How about a motion now to approve or not to approve the request for a 75-day extension to purchase property at 207 Monroe Street?
Move to approve.
Moved by Tahar, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Seal. Any discussion? Well, let me just say, again, Mr. Farrell, we appreciate your time this evening. We know that you're going to work hard to resolve any outstanding issues. We look forward to this important investment in our community. You and I had a very nice conversation this past week, and I told you on that occasion, and I'll say it again as part of the public record, this is a really great project in many ways. First and foremost, because it helps to diversify and enhance our housing stock. And we're really pleased to work with a developer with a reputation, the reputation that you have. So again, thank you for your interest in Saline. Thank you for investing in our community, and we hope to work with you more in the future. So thank you, sir. If there's nothing further, Mr. Seal, I'm sorry.
I guess I just was, the thing that convinces me to want to move this extension forward is that the additional demands made upon the developer by all of his various lending institutions appear to be somewhat out of his control. And I too am interested in seeing this project move forward. And to me, it seems like it's worth a 75-day extension. So I'll be voting in favor.
Very good. Anything else, Ms. McClellan?
Yeah, I'm happy to, grant an extension. I would like if within that extension period, there could be some discussion between some of the homeowners on West Henry Street and Mark Hanna Court about access to the park. I know that we had conversations and stuff, but I just wanted to say that, so.
Anything else? Well, then we'll proceed to vote. It's been properly moved by Tahar, seconded by Seal to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you again. We move on to new business item 14-134. This is wastewater treatment plant improvements, phase 2, payment number 12. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the September 26, 2016 memo from Tetra Tech and to approve or not to approve the contractor's application for payment number 12 in the amount of $47,881.
Move to acknowledge and approve.
Thank you, Mr. Seal. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Councilwoman Dillon. Mr. Gary Rubel, do you care to make any comment at this time?
Well, the last progress payment was only a couple meetings ago, but there's been a little work accomplished since then. The last one was a little late, but there was a few items completed, so to keep the project moving towards closeout, Tetra Tech published this pay request on behalf of the contractor.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Rubel?
When
Mr. Yearbaugh.
do you intend to be actually done? When are they going to be finished?
Well, actually, I think they're just about 100% finished now. Just some small detail. Bob Skull is keeping on top of that. He says everything seems to be running okay. And so we're looking at closeout hopefully in about a month, I think.
So all the construction, there's just little checks and things that they're doing right now?
Correct.
Okay.
Just last minute touches, and they have to do some of the asphalt paving yet, patching, and a few other items that are pending on the punch list.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gearbaugh. Additional questions for our city superintendent engineer? Ms. Tahart?
Yes, this is not directly, well, so at the conclusion of this project, we're looking forward to an odor study, and I just wondered if there was any update on where we are in the RFP process.
Well, we seem to have some interest in it by a number of firms, so we expect to get 3, 4 maybe, RFPs on October 13th.
Yeah, the bid opening is next Thursday, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And just for council's benefit and for the general public, because we are so interested in committed to moving forward on this, there may be a special meeting scheduled to review and approve the staff recommended proposal.
Right.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Hart.
It's a modified QBS process, and so it has to go through evaluation by four staff on the committee.
Right.
But we'll try to do that quickly.
Good. Good. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rubel? No? Then we will we'll proceed to vote then, unless there are additional comments. Thank you, Mr. Rubel. It's been properly moved by CO, seconded by Dillon, to acknowledge receipt and to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Move on to new business item 16-184. This is used bucket truck purchase. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt of the September 29th, 2016 memo from DPW Director Fordyce and to approve or not to approve the purchase of a 2011 Ford F-550 4x2 with a ETC 37IH bucket from 180 Equipments of Colonia, Illinois in the amount of $58,100.
Move to acknowledge receipt and to approve.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Har. Of course, our DPW Director is not with us this evening. Mr. Campbell, do you care to make any comment on this?
Happy to answer questions best I can. And pretty self-explanatory, the reason for and the use, and as I recall, was budgeted and approved in the current budget. So it's actually a little bit cost savings from the $60,000 that was approved in the line item budget.
Very good. Any questions for our city manager? Mr. Gearbox?
Just clarification, so this has a 2-year warranty for all potential repairs or anything that's required on it?
Engine warranty.
Engine warranty,
Right.
only, okay.
Anything further, Mr. Gearbox?
Nope.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Dillon?
I noticed it's a 4x2 versus a 4x4. Does that just meet our needs? Is it just going to be a street vehicle, and that's why it's a 4x2?
Correct.
Okay. And on the document received, it says it's a 2-page document, but we only received 1 page.
I think there's,
Is that part of it?
Correct.
See how it says up here, this is a 2-page document?
yeah. This is what Mr. Fordyce provided, so.
Okay. So the invoice and the agreement constitute 2 pages?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's nothing
I
missing.
think Miss.
Yeah, that's all that I received.
That's all that we received.
Okay, just want to clarify, thank you.
Any additional questions? Any comments? Well, then we'll proceed to vote. It's been properly moved by Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes, seconded by Councilwoman Tahar, to acknowledge receipt and to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. How about commission, committee, or task force reports from council members? Ms. Tahar?
Yes, Arts and Culture Committee met recently, and we are currently working on a couple of projects. One is support for the Parks and Rec Department's application to the Detroit Institute of Arts for the Inside Out project. And parallel with that, the committee is working on an idea for our own homegrown version of such a project. So stay tuned. We'll hope for success with the application to the DIA, but we'll also continue to work on what we're calling Art Around Saline. And then secondly, we received from the mayor, we received a visit from the mayor at our last meeting, and he discussed with us an interesting idea he has for art at City Hall, which we will start to develop. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Tahar. Mr. Rhodes?
The Environmental Commission co-sponsored the County Cleanup Day, which was held at DPW last Saturday. And there were 420 vehicles that came through, an amazing variety of stuff. And at some point in time, I'll have more detail as to how many pounds of various kinds of things were turned in.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes. Appreciate that. Ms. McClellan?
Yeah, the Saline Parks Commission is proud to announce the winners of the 2016 Green Thumb Award program. The program was held during June and July. There were 16 residential properties, 4 business properties nominated, total of 20 nominations. The winners are invited to an October 24th City Council meeting where they'll be honored for maintaining beautiful gardens this summer. Then the 2016 Green Thumb winners are Paul Allison and Barry England on Henry Street, and Michael Jetmes, I can't say his name, Burstenow on West McKay Street, and then Rensselaer Farm for the business space. So that, and also our Saline Youth Council met last week, was it last week? And we have 19 Saline Youth this year, so it's a great group. Did you want to say anything? I don't know if it's the proper time for him to come up, but
Yep.
yeah, come on.
Hi, I'm Austin Bellinger. I'm a senior at Saline High School, and I'm the co-chair of the Saline Youth Council. So we just want to give you guys a couple updates in efforts of fostering a relationship where we can provide youth advocacy, and then hopefully you guys feel comfortable coming to us on youth issues and asking our opinion. So as Mrs. McClellan just mentioned, we have 19 members this year as opposed to about 10 last year, so we've seen a great increase in membership. Second, we're going to be running a forum for Saline Parks and Rec, and basically what we're going to do is bring youth here. We're working on how we're going to market this and advertise it, and we're going to ask for their opinions on different issues, that kind of thing, in an effort to help them out, kind of offer a focus group. And then third, just some of our goals for this year. One, we want to get over 100 volunteering hours in as a council by the end of the year. Second, we want to work more closely with you to foster that relationship. Third, we want to run this forum on top of what we did last year. So those are some of our goals for this year, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen.
Very good. Thank you for your leadership and your involvement.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Anything else, Ms. McClellan?
That's it for me.
Additional board and commission or task force, Ms. Tahar?
Well, I just wondered if Mr. Rhodes perhaps would like also to mention the Saline Be Green Award nominations that are open. I happen to have some insider information about that.
The Parks Commission, we have, the Environmental Commission has sponsored for the first time this year a Be Green Award, which we're currently still requesting nominations, and it would be for any resident within the city of Saline or business that has made an attempt over and above the normal to take care of the environment, to be kind to our planet. And it could be recycling, could be rain gardens, could be marine barrels, could be most anything. So go ahead and you can go to the Saline Be Green website, and that's where the application is, and get that filled out. Because we intend, I think the first meeting in November, I believe it is, to issue those awards.
Very good. Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Hart.
You're welcome.
Additional board, committee, or how is it enumerated here? Excuse me. Commission, committee, or task force reports. Ms. Dillon.
The 150th Task Force, I wanted to remind everybody about fireworks coming up on October 15th. The gates will be open at 6 p.m. We're family friendly. We're encouraging tailgating. It is school property, so please be aware that there are rules of what you are not allowed to bring on school property. And also be aware, and please pass along about the fireworks, that not everyone enjoys fireworks, and there will be those people and pets that are affected by it. So please spread the word so that everyone knows.
Thank you. Mr. Seal, did you have a
Just under reports.
Oh, reports or announcements, okay. Any other commission, committee, or task force reports? Well, just one thing. I'll have the clerk's office send out an electronic version of the board and commission application sometime tomorrow, as well as a list of current board and commission vacancies. I actually think I filled one this afternoon. I interviewed a gentleman who seems very competent and able, who will probably take one of the vacancies. But we do have a number of board and commission vacancies, and I would really like to fill them. And so I'm asking my colleagues on council, you know, good, competent, quality people that you could approach who are interested in a calling greater than themselves and doing something good for their community. So if you know of somebody, please approach them, encourage them to fill out the form. It can be found on the city's website. We'll also provide you an electronic copy. And if we can't accommodate their interests, the clerk's office keeps it on file, and when a vacancy presents itself, we do our best to appoint that individual to that said vacancy. So just wanted to make you aware of that. If there's nothing further on board or commission or task force reports, how about reports or other announcements? Let's start with Mr. Seo, and then we'll jump to Ms. Tahar.
Mr. Tahar may be going to say the same thing I was.
But that was my second item, so go.
The GAP students will be welcomed here in City Hall on Friday, October the 14th at 10:30 a.m. I think we have 22 students coming from Lindenberg, Germany, here to participate with the students in the German class at Saline High School. They'll be staying in Saline homes, and the official welcoming ceremony is here a week from Friday, 10:30 a.m. it would be nice for as many people who can and who are interested to please come to this welcome ceremony to make them feel like the community itself is a welcoming place for them.
Excellent.
And I will surrender the floor to Mr.
Yes, and our other sister city, Brecon, Wales, we celebrate this year our 50th anniversary of the twinning. And on October 15th, Saturday, the Saline Brecon Friendship Guild will dedicate a bench commemorating this 50th anniversary in Brecon Park. This will be on October 15th at 2 p.m. in Brecon Park, just east of the baseball field. There will be a brief dedication, and everyone is invited to attend.
Very good. It's going to be a busy weekend. Okay,
Yes, it
excellent.
is.
Other reports or announcements, Mr. Rhodes?
Under announcements, on October the 9th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, at the cemetery, there will be a dedication of a sign with information about Orange Risden, his home, his life, and the history of the cemetery. We would invite everybody to come out on October the 9th. That's a Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock. And then on October the 16th at 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock seems to be a popular time period, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the trail renaming dedication will occur for the Leslie Needhammer Library Memorial Trail. And that will take place at the Maple Street end of the trail. The library will have refreshments afterwards. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Additional announcements, Mr. Gearbaum and Ms. McClellan?
Just real quick, we had a very successful harvest time at the farm this Sunday. Approximately 300 to 350 people attended. We had a small eight-day-old calf and some other animals at the farm, and we really appreciate everyone's turning out for that. I just wanted to say there are a number of activities going on even next week and the other week, including the Homes Tour, which will be kind of recognizing our 150th. There's also going to be a cemetery tour put on by the Rotary. Tickets are available from the Saline Chamber or from the Rotary. The one date, October 16th, I believe, is the home tour, and the tour of the cemetery is
October 8th.
October 8th.
This
Yes.
weekend.
Right.
And yeah, thank you, Mr. Gearbaum.
So there's a number of items we hope that the public will come out and attend. It's just a big recognition.
Yeah, those will be great events and a great way to celebrate and honor our history. And I think the home tour, our former council colleague Terry Seibel-Koenig, as well as a number of other individuals who have worked very hard on that. And I think it promises to be a really lovely afternoon. So thank you for bringing that up. Ms. McClellan? did you
That
have
was my
something?
announcement, was the historic home tour. There'll be 6 homes that are going to be open. I don't know if it's sold out. That there was 2 seatings of a T, one at 1 o'clock and one at 3 o'clock. You'll have to check with Terry on ticket availability for that. Sold out?
The
Okay.
walking tour is still available, but the tea is sold.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Other reports or announcements? Just one, Mr. Rhodes, Councilwoman, or Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes, excuse me, Councilwoman Tar and I continue to work on an ethics pledge that I talked about some time ago in my State of the City address. I think there was just a minor thing that we need to modify. We were corresponding today via email, and I'll probably have the clerk's office send a revised copy to you later this week. It will be added as a discussion item, and a hard copy will be put in your packet in advance of our next meeting on October 24th. If there are changes, we'll make them on that occasion, and then it's my hope to bring it back for review and approval at our first meeting in November. All right? And then finally, under reports and announcements, and this is kind of a biggie, and I failed to acknowledge this when the meeting began this evening, but City Manager Campbell provided you a packet, and the cover letter is from Signature Associates dated October the 3rd, 2016. It's regarding some incentives for the Saline Commons shopping center on the east end of town. Do you want to discuss this?
Certainly, and actually, if I'll invite
Excuse me, Ms. Bennett.
Treasurer and Business Ambassador Mickey Jo Bennett to, she's the one that put together the information. But I'm going to turn the floor over to her in just a second. But this is one of those times when staff is trying to accommodate as best we can and turn something around very quickly. This is essentially would be a tax incentive for the Imagine Theater, and essentially saying that without it, there's a strong chance that it may not go through. So I'll leave that, and then I'll let Mickey Joe.
He'll bear all the good news.
That's right.
So the letter that I received today, I have been in correspondence with this Mr. Michael Southern from the Imagine Theaters, who is requesting that the city consider establishing a commercial rehabilitation district, and then that would allow them to apply for a commercial rehabilitation act. And I did pass out some frequently asked questions, and then the Pure Michigan information on that along with their request. Essentially, what the rehabilitation exemption would do would freeze the values of the building only. So land would continue to go from year to year, but it would freeze the value of the building as of the tax day for whichever year it was approved. Imagine would like us to try to work with them and get this through and submitted to the State Tax Commission by October 31st. Nothing short of moving some mountains. And then what that would do would freeze it as of the building value only as of December 31st of December 15th. That would be froze for a number of years as determined by, if this would go to the special projects. We've not had one of these before, so the grounds on how we would determine how many years, but it's up to 10 years that value would freeze, and then after the time of that 10 years, it would uncap at the full value. The monies would be distributed the way they are to all the local units, and what this would entail us doing is requesting a public hearing to establish the district, and then as soon as we request the public hearing, we would then have to notify Washtenaw County, and then Washtenaw County can take up to 28 days to either approve or deny. It would obviously be to our best interest to request the county to approve that more timely than the 28-day time period so we can move forward with the rest of the process. I think that pretty much describes it.
Okay.
I know there's going to be questions.
Yep. Questions for Ms. Bennett? Mr. Gearbaugh?
When you indicate building only, we're talking about recently that it was divided into condo, the way it was split out and everything. So this is just the portion that would be the old supermarket, I guess we would say.
Very good question, thank you. So the district itself has to be, by the State Tax Commission guidelines, a minimum of 3 acres. So we would determine the district, and it seemed logical that we would, their request would only be for their portion of what was the former shopping center. But the district would have to be 3 acres. The current parcel, the original parcel that included all of that shopping district is 16 acres, and that would be, a reasonable sell to just take that parcel and say, anything within this legal description, if another developer wanted to apply and go through it, they could have an additional exemption, but they would have to apply separately. So what Imagine is just asking for us to establish a district, which we have to establish at least 3 acres, and then they're only going to apply for their portion, which according to the letter is 54,000 square foot.
And we can identify that in terms of, does it have to be identified in terms of a legal description plot, or can we just carve that out?
For the district, we would have to describe a minimum of 3 acres.
Okay.
Their value will have to be determined, because the assessing office, and Catherine's already working on it, would, be based on what their portion of this year's tax bill was, and that's what would be froze. The rest of it would continue to be taxed accordingly.
And any investment in terms of personal property that would be above and beyond whatever the limits are and so forth?
Yes, this is only on the building.
excluded.
Land and personal property are not qualified for this abatement.
Okay. Thank you.
Additional questions, Mr. Rhodes?
Probably too soon to ask this, but do we have any idea what the value of that 54,000 square foot building is going to be established at?
Not too soon to ask that, our assessor. Now, the question is, did I remember to bring it? Yes, I did. So, the taxable value for, am I reading this right?
So the total value of the parcel is $2,708,100, and the value that would be just the store building is $1,118,000. So not quite half.
Okay, sounds like a reasonable value for that kind of structure.
Thank you. Additional questions? No? Mr.
Did you
Gerbaugh,
have a
another?
question,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Seal?
Jack, do you have one?
I did. It had been partially asked by Mr. Gerbaugh. I just have a lot to learn yet. I haven't, and we just got this back.
I've learned all this in the last couple of days, trust me.
I'll reserve. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, yep. Mr. Gerbaugh, did you have something further?
Yeah, just curious, is this type of district or whatever available in other aspects of the city, or is it only a special one-time
Nope,
only?
we can establish as many of these 3-acre districts. I mean, we could go further and have more of them, but this would have to be a contiguous 3 acres at this time that we would be establishing.
Okay. The only comment I'd have, and this is not a question for you, but a comment, I am concerned when they said that the LLC may not be able to finance the cost of the building and operate at first class. They are doing significant construction on that building right now, so I'm hoping that this statement seems a little, overboard, but I just want to make sure, looking at what and having ridden on the hay rides around the shopping center all day yesterday, noticed how much construction has already begun on that building, and that kind of statement, considering this is October 3rd, has me a little concerned.
I know this is a lot to digest. I was actually just briefed on this, I think Friday, when I was casually, and it was a casual conversation that came up when Mickey Joe popped into Todd's office. I think this is a good, innovative approach. It's something I'm supportive of. I know you all are going to want time to digest this because it is a big issue. I did speak to the city manager earlier today, and if you have any questions, any concerns, you want to know more about this, please feel free to reach out to him. He's happy to address any questions, concerns that you may have. And unless there are objections, we're going to continue to proceed, because we've got a really finite, deadline that we're working with. Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you all. Mickey Joe, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we, I forgot to bring this up, I was meant to do this before the state tax incentive. You all saw an email that went out from Justine. She shared some dates that I think were provided by Mr. Skull of tours that we would like council members to take of the wastewater treatment plant subsequent to the rehabilitation project being finalized. We also talked about scheduling a public open house for members of the public to tour the facility and ask questions of staff. And we'd like to propose the 22nd of this month, which is a Saturday. That date will allow every council member an opportunity to tour the facility, assuming that one of those 5 dates will work for each of us, and I sure hope that it would. And we would have the facility open between 9 and 1 o'clock. And then if there was demand, if staff determined that there was significant demand, we would schedule a subsequent open house sometime thereafter. I just wanted to share that, make sure there were no objections, and if there are no objections, we will begin to disseminate that and probably write up a press release inviting the public to tour the facility on the 22nd of this month between 9 and 1.
I think it's a good idea to have a public tour.
Yep, I do too. Mr. Gearbaugh, have any objections to that?
Nope, that's exactly what we were talking about.
Okay, Ms. McClellan, you good with that? Mr. Har?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Dillon?
Yes.
Mr. CO?
Fine with me.
Okay, so we'll work on a press release, and feel free to share that with anybody you deem appropriate, okay? Okay, if there's nothing further under reports or announcements, we move on to the Zippy's Car Wash. Of course, we have the petitioners in the audience this evening. We appreciate you being here along with your legal counsel. We had a very nice work meeting discussing this proposal 2 weeks ago. I hope if council members had any questions, concerns subsequent to that meeting, they directed them to staff. As I indicated at that time, I am looking for consensus on how best to proceed on this issue. And I guess with that, I would open it up to the group to see how you feel and what you believe is the best way to move forward on the potential sale of this lot along Michigan Ave. Mr. Rhodes, would you like to begin?
Sure, I would support moving forward with this with the hopeful end result of approving it.
Okay. Mr. Gearbaugh?
Yeah, my only concern is how the parcels are where the old proposed roundabout, not roundabout, geez, that's in my head. The proposed circle was, or the, where we planned the city road and all that, the cul-de-sac, thank you. I was getting old. The question being is, how do we best split that property up? Because I'm concerned that there's some property that potentially would become wasted, and however we best handle this sale, and is there potentially a way to provide for another lot or whatever in terms of how that would be broken out, and depending on what the needs really are of Zippy Car Wash and so forth. It's just, I want to make sure that, because we haven't laid that out differently than when it was laid out for an industrial park, we should really be careful on how we do that and make sure we're getting the best benefit of how that plays out. We don't need to oversell land if it doesn't need it for that proposal, and that the city can somehow handle it a little differently. That's just my concern.
Well, excuse me. Yeah, what I would say, I mean, we've had those kind of short discussions, right, in some of the work sessions that we've had recently of because of the city not completing that street into the cul-de-sac, and do we simply add it on to the current descriptions, basically extend the property lines to the south X amount of feet. So that's sort of one way to do it. We can staff can sort of take a look at that and report back regarding if we wanted to, how else we could use that besides just extending the current property lines.
Yeah, that would be kind of my idea, that we would, how it can be carved out, because we do have potentially to access from the other shopping center or whatever. And from my perspective, and it still is, that property was not necessarily redesigned the way it should have been when we moved into the new zoning aspect. And so if we still have some opportunities to do that, we should be doing it at this time.
Okay, very good.
Just to be clear, though, Mr. Gearba, you are in favor of having staff engage with the applicant?
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to
No,
make this a best practice for both us and for the potential
okay.
Zippy Car Wash.
So your position mirrors that of Mayor Pro Tem Rhodes, Ms. McClellan?
Yeah, I'm in favor of moving forward with it.
Okay. Mr. Hart?
Yes, in favor of moving forward, and I share Mr. Gearbox's concern or desire that looking at the former cul-de-sac land now, as we rethink the use of the property, is important to keep that on the table in the discussions.
Ms. Dillon?
I concur, and I also wanted to know if Zippy's had considered, there was at our work session, you were considering the other lot. If you're still sticking with 19, or if you're looking at moving over.
Please.
Hi, good evening. Corey Weaver. Lot 19, I think, is the best option, given the proximity to the proposed ACE as well as the Best Western. But as part of an overall kind of concept plan, we could certainly consider moving to the west onto Lot 20, but Lot 19 looks to be the best.
Now, the other question I have is, if you do not get a left turn cutout back onto Michigan Avenue, how are you going to exit people? Are you going to have to utilize the other property?
The concept plan, as it's drawn, does show a additional driveway coming out onto Sauk Trail. That was part of the ACE Best Western proposal, so that would be an option. Our preference, of course, is to have the full curb cut onto Michigan Avenue, similar to all the other businesses along Michigan Avenue. So,
Right. But you have no use for the cul-de-sac
correct.
at the end?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
Mr. Seal?
I echo the sentiments of Mr. Har and Mr. Gearba.
Okay. Well, I think it's pretty clear then. I'll be very honest. As I've stated in the past, I think you are outstanding business people. I'm a proud patron of Zippy's Car Wash.
Thank you.
I have to be completely candid. I've had some ambivalence about this proposal from the very beginning, but the majority has spoken, and we look forward to working with you. And I know that between you, your wife, and your legal counsel, you'll connect with staff to begin finalizing a sales agreement. We look forward to seeing that on our council agenda in the very near future.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't. Very good. I
Okay.
appreciate the time.
I think it
this
was
evening.
pretty clear, and we got you out of here before 8:30, so can't beat that. Thank you to your wife and to your attorney for being with us this evening as well. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
If there's, yes, Mr. Gearbaugh.
One other thing, I do want to acknowledge that I received, I think all of us in council received a email from the owners of Goofy Car Wash in terms of their concerns, so I would like to acknowledge that tonight so that everyone has an understanding.
If you put that in the record, and I actually responded to that email earlier today as well, and thanked them for their sentiments and opinions. If there's nothing further on the Zippy's Car Wash, and there's nothing further under the discussion portion of our agenda, you're clear about Zippy's Car Wash? Couldn't be any clearer. We'll proceed to public comments. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested, but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Are there any citizen comments?
John Olson, Saline Area Chamber of Commerce. As you know, at the work meeting, I spoke very positively of Zippy's, and I just wanted to commend council for its forward thinking with regard to Zippy's and the theater and the hotel/Ace. I see them all as very positive additions to our business community. And then also I wanted to remind everyone that we have had our business award winners announced for this year. So in the late winter, we do our Saline Salutes, that's our citizens, and in the fall, we do our business award where we honor successful businesses that are also good corporate citizens. And this year we have, as our large business, we have Bank of Ann Arbor. We have our small business, which is Washington Glass. And we did a lifetime achievement for Debbie DeLocke Daniel, who, if you don't know her, was very involved in the CVB and was a very good partner to the Saline Chamber and to the city of Saline all of her tenure. So we're very happy to do that. And that will be October 20th. And it will be at Stonebridge, and you can either hop on the website at salinechamber.org or give us a call if you'd like to get tickets to be able to honor our businesses of the year. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. And thank you, I failed to mention this during reports or other announcements, thank you and Saline Main Street for your participation in our joint economic development meeting on Thursday night. I think that went really well. Additional citizen comments? No, then please note our future meetings, which will be on October 24th. We do have a work meeting to discuss health insurance and community events, and then from what the clerk told me, that is, you should plan on being here for a pretty protracted period of time on the 24th. I think that's going to be a long meeting. There's a lot of action items. And then the following meeting will be on the 14th. Mr. Gearbaugh.
On the meeting on the 24th, when we're discussing benefits, will we have that information ahead of the work meeting?
Oh, yeah.
So we can look at it before we actually get at the meeting? Usually we receive it at the meeting, and I'd rather have it a week prior.
We'll get it in the packets.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, there are no absences this evening, so the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn at, let's say, 8:23 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by Gearbaugh. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned.